Betty and her best friend Angel lived in a big apartment building in the busy city. They were successful at work and had enough money to live comfortably. But Betty had a tough time with men because of something bad that happened in her past. Her ex-boyfriend hurt her deeply, leaving emotional scars that were still painful years later. This experience made Betty find it hard to trust men, and she often pushed them away when they tried to get close to her. Angel, who was always there for Betty, saw how Betty had built walls around her heart to protect herself. They talked a lot about Betty's fears and insecurities. Angel, being understanding and caring, encouraged Betty to face her past and believed she could heal, even though it wouldn't be easy. Betty slowly tried to trust again, but she was cautious, remembering the pain from her past relationships. In her quiet moments alone, Betty struggled with wanting closeness and at the same time, fearing it because of the possibility of getting hurt again. Angel hoped that one day Betty would heal completely and be open to love again. Jack moved into the building recently, and he quickly became known for his friendly personality. One day, he tried to say hello to Betty. But to his surprise, Betty ignored him rudely, as if they had a past issue. Jack was confused but thought maybe she was just in a bad mood, which can happen to anyone. After this encounter, Jack wondered if there was a misunderstanding or if Betty had some problem with him from before he moved in. He considered that maybe they had met in a bad situation earlier, but he couldn't remember. Despite this awkward moment, Jack decided to keep being friendly to everyone in the building, including Betty. He hoped that with time, Betty might warm up to him and they could get along better. This experience taught Jack that people have their own reasons for how they act, and he should be sensitive to that. He learned to be careful with his interactions, especially with someone like Betty who seemed more reserved. As days went by, Jack continued to be kind, hoping to build good relationships with his neighbors. He understood that it takes time for people to trust and feel comfortable around each other, especially in a shared living space like theirs. Each time Jack tried to say hello to Betty, she scolded him instead. Meanwhile, Jack got along well with Angel, Betty's best friend. They talked and helped each other out. One day, while chatting with Angel, Jack mentioned how Betty always seemed upset with him. Angel explained that Betty had a painful breakup in the past that still hurt her deeply. This pain made Betty wary of trusting others, which made her react harshly sometimes. Jack realized Betty's reactions weren't personal but were because of her past hurt. He felt sorry for her and decided to be patient and understanding. Instead of getting upset with Betty, Jack continued being friendly to Angel while respecting Betty's feelings. Jack refused to give up on bridging the gap with Betty. Despite her initial coldness and reluctance, he persisted in his efforts to reach out to her, hoping to break through the barriers she had erected. With each attempt to engage her in conversation or extend a friendly gesture, Jack demonstrated patience and sincerity. After some time of persistent but respectful pursuit, Betty finally relented. Perhaps swayed by Jack's consistent kindness or intrigued by his unwavering efforts, he tried convincing her to go out with him, saying he won't disturb her again after the outing if that's what she wanted. She finally accepted. Their first outing together was a tentative step into uncharted territory for both of them. The movie they watched provided a shared experience that sparked conversations beyond the screen, allowing them to find common ground and share laughs over the film's plot twists and humorous moments. Jack's wit and humor, which had initially caught Betty's attention, continued to shine as they moved from the theater to a stroll along the beach. The sound of crashing waves and the salty breeze seemed to ease any remaining tension between them, fostering a sense of ease and openness. Dinner at a cozy restaurant became an opportunity for deeper conversations, where they exchanged stories about their pasts, dreams for the future, and the challenges they had faced. Betty gradually began to lower her guard, finding herself genuinely enjoying Jack's company and feeling a sense of companionship that had been absent for a long time. Their evening culminated in a visit to a bustling gaming center, where Jack's competitive spirit and enthusiasm for gaming added another layer to their connection. Amid the flashing screens and lively atmosphere, they bonded over friendly competition and shared victories, with Betty's laughter ringing out freely, unburdened by the past hurts that had once held her back. For Jack, seeing Betty laugh genuinely and freely was a rewarding moment, a testament to the power of persistence and understanding. He felt a sense of accomplishment in breaking down the walls that had initially separated them, paving the way for a newfound friendship or possibly something more. As they said their goodbyes that night, there was a sense of optimism in the air, a mutual acknowledgement that their journey together was just beginning. Jack knew that while their relationship had taken time and effort to build, the moments they had shared had laid a strong foundation for whatever the future might hold. After their memorable outing together, Jack made a conscious decision to give Betty space, keeping his promise not to push their newfound connection further. This unexpected change in behavior puzzled Betty. She had grown accustomed to Jack's persistent efforts to reach out to her, and suddenly his absence left her feeling conflicted and unsettled. At first, Betty found herself feeling a mix of emotions: confusion, frustration, and a growing sense of longing. She missed the easy camaraderie and laughter they had shared during their time together. As days passed without Jack's friendly greetings or invitations, Betty's thoughts often drifted back to him, wondering why he had seemingly withdrawn from their budding relationship. Unable to shake off the impact of their outing, Betty found herself replaying their conversations, recalling Jack's infectious laughter, and reflecting on how he had managed to make her feel comfortable and appreciated in a way she hadn't experienced in a long time. Despite her initial anger over his sudden distance, Betty couldn't deny the growing attraction she felt towards Jack and the genuine connection they had forged. As Betty wrestled with her feelings, she began to realize how much Jack had come to mean to her in a short period of time. His absence highlighted the void that had formed in her life, a void filled with his presence and the promise of something more meaningful. She questioned her own reactions and wondered if her past insecurities and fears were getting in the way of a potential future with Jack. Betty's internal struggle intensified as she grappled with the uncertainty of whether Jack's withdrawal was intentional or a misunderstanding. She found herself torn between wanting to reach out to him and fearing rejection or disappointment. The thought of losing the connection they had begun to build weighed heavily on her mind, prompting her to confront her own hesitations and vulnerabilities. In moments of solitude, Betty found herself reflecting on Jack's qualities: his kindness, patience, and genuine interest in getting to know her beyond her guarded facade. She acknowledged that Jack had managed to break down some of her emotional barriers, allowing her to experience moments of joy and laughter she had almost forgotten were possible. Despite her lingering doubts and reservations, Betty couldn't deny that Jack had made a significant impact on her life. His absence had become a catalyst for self-reflection, prompting her to confront her own feelings and reassess what she truly wanted moving forward. As she navigated the complexities of her emotions, Betty couldn't help but wonder if Jack was feeling the same way, if he, too, was grappling with the aftermath of their time together and what it could mean for their future. Weeks turned into a blur for Betty, her mind constantly preoccupied with thoughts of Jack. Despite her efforts to focus on work or distract herself, his presence lingered in her thoughts, affecting her concentration and mood. Her pride, a stubborn companion, prevented her from making the first move, holding her back from reaching out to Jack even as her feelings for him deepened. Days stretched into long, introspective nights where Betty wrestled with conflicting emotions. On one hand, there was frustration and even a tinge of anger towards Jack for his sudden withdrawal after their meaningful time together. On the other hand, there was a growing realization that her feelings for him were stronger than she had anticipated. She found herself replaying moments from their outing, his laughter, his attentive listening, and the warmth of his companionship, all of which had left an indelible mark on her heart. Betty's inner turmoil reached a tipping point, pushing her to take a leap of faith. With a mix of nervousness and determination, she finally decided to confront Jack. Standing outside his door, her heart raced with uncertainty as she rehearsed what she would say. When Jack opened the door, she couldn't hide the initial anger in her voice, questioning why he had distanced himself after everything they had shared. However, as she continued to speak, Betty's tone softened, revealing the vulnerability beneath her frustration. She confessed that she missed him, admitting that his absence had made her realize how much she valued his presence in her life. It was a moment of raw honesty as Betty bared her feelings, acknowledging that Jack had somehow managed to touch her heart in a way no one else had in a long time. Then, in a moment of courage that surprised even herself, Betty confessed her love for Jack. The words hung in the air, laden with hope and fear, as she waited for his response. To her immense joy and relief, Jack's expression softened, his eyes reflecting the same depth of emotion she felt. In that shared moment of vulnerability and truth, Jack admitted that he, too, had developed feelings for her. The weight of unspoken emotions lifted off Betty's shoulders as they stood there, realizing that their journey had led them to this pivotal moment of mutual understanding and affection. Their conversation continued late into the night, filled with laughter, tears, and a renewed sense of connection. They talked about their hopes for the future, their fears, and the possibilities that lay ahead for their relationship. For Betty, expressing her feelings and hearing Jack's reciprocation was a transformative experience. It marked a turning point where she embraced the courage to follow her heart despite her pride and fears. In Jack, she found not just a companion but someone who saw and accepted her for who she was, scars and all. As they embarked on this new chapter together, Betty and Jack knew that their love had been forged through challenges and uncertainties. Yet, they also understood that it was precisely those challenges that had brought them closer, laying the foundation for a relationship built on honesty, vulnerability, and mutual respect. Their story showed how patience and genuine care can heal old wounds and bring new hope. Betty learned to let go of her past hurts and embrace love again, thanks to Jack's understanding and persistence.